It's kind of like we are in the Biff-horrific time tangent that we got stuck in, which in 2016 is essentially where we are. The irony of Back to the Future 2, and that they went back to 2015, and that's where this all started. Well,
and who was that based on?
Donald Trump is based. Biff Tannen, Biff-horrific is based on Donald Trump.
Yes.
That's been established.
Biff Tannen, even in the original Back to the Future, the first one, that character was based on Donald Trump.
And so there are a lot of people who still don't understand the appeal of Trump. Or they do, and they just want to pretend that this isn't the reason.
I understand that. I don't agree with it.
So Michael Moore, who is, and we're grateful for him helping Jordan Chariton get the message out about what was happening in Flint. He's from Flint. And he's made some really amazing films over the years.
Yeah.
I personally think that Sicko is probably his best work.
Bowling for Columbine.
Well, Bowling for Columbine's how he got off the ground.
It was so good.
It was. I only saw Fahrenheit 9/11 once. I would see that again. That was a great documentary. But the whole premise of that documentary was basically going up to all the senators and Congress members and saying, "Hey, how come you're signing up to send how come you're willing to send our boys and girls overseas to die, but you won't send your own kid into the draft?" And of course, among other things, Sicko showed exactly what it was like going to a country even like Cuba and what it's like to have real health care that we don't have here in the States. Well, Michael Moore fully understood what Trump represents to the working class of this country. This message is as relevant now as it was then, maybe even more so in this moment.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states. You live here in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Whether Trump means it or not is kind of irrelevant because he's saying the things to people who are hurting. And it's why every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. And on November 8th, Election Day, although they've lost their jobs, although they've been foreclosed on by the bank, next came the divorce, and now the wife and kids are gone, the car's been repoed, they haven't had a real vacation in years, they're stuck with the shitty Obamacare bronze plan where you can't even get a fucking Percocet. They've essentially lost everything they had, except one thing. The one thing that doesn't cost them a cent and is guaranteed to them by the American Constitution, the right to vote. They might be penniless, they might be homeless, they might be fucked over and fucked up. It doesn't matter because it's equalized on that day. A millionaire has the same number of votes as the person without a job, one. And there's more of the former middle class than there are in the millionaire class. So on November 8th, the dispossessed will walk into the voting booth, be handed a ballot, close the curtain, and take that lever, or felt pen or touchscreen, and put a big fucking X in the box by the name of the man who has threatened to upend and overturn the very system that has ruined their lives. Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, people are just sick of it. But so, and so I don't think it's necessarily that black men are being right side radicaled. I don't think that.
I
But
think-
I will say it is very encouraging to see somebody like Professor Ware in this discussion and in this, sort of arena and helping to sort of steer people in that direction. And another reason that they might be leaving the party in droves is for exactly the same kind of condescension that they just got from Obama. They've been getting forever. It's gross. It is. It's so gross. If a black man was in that room and they didn't already feel sold out by the Democrats, listening to him speak to him that way might seal the deal.
I think people truly forget that the big appeal of Trump is that he isn't one of these people that are just looking to enrich themselves. I mean, look, he'll enrich his family like they all do. But the things that Trump has been prosecuted for in particular are things that so many people are guilty of. One of the things that always upset me about Wasserman Schultz is that she doesn't have the capability. I think she's a psychopath, much like Hillary Clinton, in the sense that she does feel entitled to her position and that people who try to get in her way need to be dealt with harshly. And so when you have that attitude that I can do no wrong or that I'm entitled to do it my way, I can go on national TV and construct a narrative to put down somebody like Trump, of which I'm basically doing the same thing, if not worse. One of the things that Michael Moore talked about that wasn't included in this clip is how the elites hate Trump. Hollywood hates Trump. Society as a whole, polite society as a whole, hates Trump. If you look on the faces of the people that were sitting in that arena, they're people like my Uncle Sal, who's dead, and who was a Vietnam veteran, who worked really hard, and he always talked about, I hate those damn liberals. There's been a lack of respect for the working people of this country for far too long. It makes me very sad listening to Michael make that statement, not because I disagree with him, but because I know what it's like to struggle to survive and to make money and have a shred of dignity, which is what I think most people are looking for. They just want to feel like their life means something. You thought it was bad with Hillary Clinton running. This is even worse now because the system's breaking at an even faster pace. And rather than put the brakes on and say, something's really wrong here, we have allowed this entire system to be overrun by corporate special interests. I make it a point, as somebody who works in commercial real estate, to say, we as investors are going nowhere if we do not address the fact that private equity has completely taken over the industry. People can't move into communities down in South Florida anymore. There is a housing crisis on an obscene level, and our congressional representative is literally knee deep with the very people.
Stop saying that.
Why?
Because it's not literal.
And you wonder why people hate educated people. Wasserman Schultz has been taking money hand over fist from Blackstone and all of the private equity giants that make it impossible to afford a home down here. I am strongly considering moving away from here very soon.
I don't know. I honestly don't think anybody should move here. I recommend against anybody buying property down here, moving down here. It is a bad plan if you are planning on living, let's say, beyond 10 years. If you're planning on living beyond 10 years, this is not the place for you.
This is also the problem, and I would think it's probably to Jill Stein's benefit that RFK dropped out of the race. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of infrastructure. And when I look at the messages that I see on social media, and keep in mind, this isn't no ordinary circumstance. There is a genocide literally happening right now.
Oh, I love Costa Rica. I'd be living in Costa Rica right now if I didn't have kids.
There are people that are dying every minute of every day because of us and our policies and what we allow. And whether Donald Trump is going to continue to execute those policies, I'm not 100% convinced that he will, because I think Trump is going to have this attitude of, I want my legacy. I want my Nobel Prize. I'm going to get my Nobel Prize.
You know what it is, what people, the truth is, we have no idea what he's going to do. And
don't.
that's the wild card of it all. But yet we do know exactly.
What Harris is going to do.
Absolutely. We know exactly what that'll look like. So
Have you-
Trump, we really don't know. We really don't know. He is definitely a wild card, which is what concerns people. And again, he's horrible. That wasn't my vote.
Illustrative. I'll take illustrative. I'll deal with that.
I have to compensate verbally for what I lack mathematically.